Funny how when Black Panther starts off the scenes with the two white characters.
I know, right? Like, here's one pretty white guy and another pretty white guy.
What's going on, Reject Nation? Greg Alba here.
John Humphrey here!
We're gonna watch the official teaser trailer presented by Marvel for the world's first black superhero finally getting his big screen solo adaptation. That is, of course, Black Panther teaser trailer.
Do this, it's about damn time!
Let's do this.
Tell me something. What do you know about Wakanda?
That guy.
It's a third world country. Textiles, shepherds, cool outfits, all a front. Explorers have searched for it. Called it El Dorado.
Woo!
They looked for it in South America. But it was in Africa the whole time. I'm the only one who's seen it.
Okay, I get where the timeline is in this.
And made it out alive.
Whoa! Nice.
I can see you.
Cool music.
The world is changing. Soon there will only be the conquered
Be shown.
and the conquerors. You are a good man with a good heart. And it's hard for a good man to be a king.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Alright. Good man to be a king.
Oh, man.
That movie looks so cool.
That looks cool as hell, yeah.
That looks so cool. And it's interesting to see how the Marvel Cinematic Universe look seems to be changing.
Yeah,
Because with Guardians 2, then Thor Ragnarok, and then this, there is a similar type of visual aesthetic to all three of the imageries I've seen from watching Guardians 2, seeing the Thor Ragnarok trailer, now seeing this.
That's always the most interesting part to me, or that's one of the most interesting parts to me, because, you know, as we make more of these movies, they have to start changing what they look like, because we can't just keep destroying New York City.
Yeah.
You know, and that's actually one of the coolest things about this to me is just like, I feel like going to Africa, or Wakanda, you know, going to this African nation, really borrowing from that imagery is a great new look, you know, and I like that they're immersing into the culture, or at least borrowing from it for the mythology here.
Yeah, totally. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been really cool about how they've been setting up Black Panther, because you get Andy Serkis's Crawl in Age of Ultron. Ultron cuts off his hand, but that actually is supposed to happen from Black Panther. They changed that around.
That's different.
Yeah, they changed that around. He creates this, like, kind of sound-like weaponry. He becomes this, like, superhuman. Crawl, he finds Wakanda, and then all this stuff starts happening. He has this, like, sound-like weapon. And then Everett Ross, Martin Freeman, who's a little bit featured in Civil War, he's a big part of the Black Panther story as well.
Okay.
So they've been giving, like, little sprinklets of Black Panther, like, setting him up, but in a not-so, obvious way, pushing it in your face.
Yeah.
Some people might not even remember that Andy Serkis was in Age of Ultron because he's briefly in the movie, and some people will be like, oh yeah, Martin Freeman, he was in Civil War, right? But they're two very integral characters to the whole Black Panther story.
That's something that, as much as I get tired of crossovers, that I think is a cooler way to do that, a cool surprise. Like, oh, for me, being less initiated, I was like, oh, Andy Serkis's character, and that wasn't distracting in Age of Ultron, and it wasn't particularly distracting here. I thought that worked nicely. It's like, oh, cool, I get it.
Everett Ross is an important ally to Black Panther.
Okay.
And Ulysses Claw is one of Black Panther's primary villains.
Okay.
And a lot of people were thinking that Claw would be the main villain, but it sounds like he's more setting up more of the world, because like with the animated series that came out like 7 years ago or something, that really focused on Claw finding Wakanda, him being the main enemy throughout the series. Here, it's like, okay, where they're picking up the timeline from is he's already been to Wakanda and he's coming back and he knows all about Wakanda being this technologically advanced part of Africa, because the whole story with Wakanda is they have a meteorite that crashes there, which gave them vibranium, which is like what his suit is made out of. Captain America's shield is made out of vibranium.
Yeah, unobtainium.
Yeah, unobtainium. Yeah. I'm liking where they're going with this. And it's a cool teaser trailer because T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, whatever. Part of his story is he leaves Wakanda and he actually studies in America, and he's same thing with Michael B. Jordan's character. Killmonger, I think is his name. Yeah, Killmonger. Killmonger has the same thing too, because his backstory of Killmonger, from what I read, is I did like an hour of research like 3 hours ago today, so I'm trying to just remember everything I read. Yeah. His family was exiled from Wakanda. He went to America. He studied some shit that I don't remember, but then he eventually comes back, and he's supposed to be the primary villain because he's one of Black Panther's main villains too. Okay. So Michael B. Jordan is playing one of the ultimate Black Panther villains.
Damn.
Which is really cool because he's worked with Ryan Coogler several times as the hero. Now he's working under his direction, but as a villain. Okay. And after playing Human Torch in a really bad Fantastic Four movie.
Great Fantastic Four movie.
It's cool that they got both Human Torches to play different characters in the MCU.
Guys, we like you. We think you deserve a second chance.
Yeah.
Come home to Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the cast in this thing. I'm not fully up to date on all the news and stuff, but to see like Denai Guerrera and Lupita Nyong'o and you know, Martin Freeman too. I think Chadwick Boseman's terrific in the things that I've seen him in, and Michael B. Jordan. I was really dazzled by this trailer, you know, at least, you know. And I think you're right. Like, I thought the music cues were cool. Like, it seems like it is allowed to be distinctly its own thing, especially for something like Black Panther. It's you know, it's the first predominantly African American cast, you know, led by, you know, like an African American lead. Let it blossom into what it is. Kind of like Wonder Woman.
In terms of a cast ensemble, because you know, I know Blade came out Wesley Snipes. So that was like a black superhero, but in terms of like the entire cast, it taking place in Africa, because Wakanda is a place in Africa. It's fictional, of course, but it's a place in Africa that is known to be more technologically advanced than most of the world. Okay. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see them bring both sides of the spectrum to life. Like they're going to honor the imagery of what Africa looks like today, and then also bringing in the technically advanced side of Wakanda, the fictional side of Africa, blending in both sides of the world. That's why I think the costume designs look really cool. The whole production design of the brief imagery we got of Wakanda looks very neat to me too.
Yeah. And that's probably the most exciting thing to me, is to go there. And those are the parts of world building I do enjoy. Is like, what is that world gonna look like and be like? And you know, when you get to spend those sequences within just kind of the culture, what life is like there.
It's a totally different world within inside our world. That's what makes it really interesting.
Yeah. And
more
I like,
than just going to another planet, I think.
Exactly. And you know, I think the more Marvel wants to broaden out that way, I think the better.
I don't know if this film will have a villain problem. I know that tends to be the main issue with most comic book movies, is the villain issue. Because, you know, you got Krull in here, and you got Killmonger in here. And Krull, you know, they show in the trailer that someone breaks him out. His team breaks him out of wherever he's held captive. It's so brief in the trailer, but, you know.
There are a lot of flashes of different settings and stuff.
Yeah, but Krull gets broken out. And then you got Killmonger in here, and I'm assuming they're going to work together in some fashion as well. Yeah. But it seems like the big theme of it, you know, because when you're hearing that little speech going over it, to be king, you know, it's hard to be king when you have to be a good person. Which is an interesting thing to do, because Chadwick Boseman himself has said Black Panther, to him, he views like an anti-hero. Black Panther goes down a lot of dark emotional paths as well. And it's also picking up, because the Black Panther story with T'Challa originates from the fact that his dad died, and then he was prince, and then he eventually becomes king of Wakanda. You know, they changed that too with Civil War, with the bombing taking place, and then his dad dies, and so they changed that fact around as well. The villains seem featured in here in a nice way. Like, Andy Serkis looks like he's really having fun chewing up some scenery, actually. Whereas Michael B. Jordan will probably play a little bit more on the more subtle side, I'd imagine.
I hope
so. You got two different variations of the villains.
I hope he gets to be a character, because at least from the few flashes I've seen, I know that it's easy for, at least what little I know about that character, I know it's easy for those performances to fall into like, okay, here's your one note, you look angry a lot, and you're righteously pissed off at the main character, and you're gonna fight him until you die. You know, and so I hope that character specifically gets to have more of an emotional spectrum, because, like, you know, Andy Serkis looks like so much fun, and I know Michael B. Jordan has chops, you know. As they're addressing their villain problem and exploring things, like, I think it could be cool to just have two notable villains kind of team up in a way or something like that. Is it possible to be a good man and a king all at once, and to go out and take action all at once? I think if they really immerse into that argument, I think that could be another thing that makes this movie that much more interesting.
Oh, totally. And another thing you get, like, teases at, you know, with, you know, the rise of women in action movies and superheroes happening right now. You got this side of the spectrum where it's the African-American cast. Within that African-American cast, there's the Dora Milaje, I think that's how you pronounce it, where you got characters like, God, I suck at remembering their names. Denaya Gurira, who plays Michonne.
Denaya Gurira?
Yeah, and the Lupita Nyong'o? Yes, and you got, like, they're part of, like, the all-female special forces that work under Black Panther as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you're gonna have, like,
feminism coming to get you.
Feminism and the black side, both in one movie.
Well, I mean, the feminism just includes the black side.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, like, you know, diverse casting and all-female special forces, and look out!
Yeah, so I think this is gonna be one hell of a special film for people. I hope it's done well. Because Ryan Coogler, I don't know of him doing anything along the lines like a Black Panther.
This being, what's the director's name again?
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler. This being his first, like, massive scale thing. I mean, at least what we see here in terms of the action shots and stuff and the effect shots look pretty good. I mean,
oh, yeah, totally.
And I don't know how much of Marvel's assembly comes from having certain technical players on hand at all times, but I mean, the action looks wicked, and the way the shots are designed looks distinct.
Well, I'd imagine he'd be good with that. There's this really, he shot the movie Creed, and there's this really cool sequence in Creed where it's all done in one take, an entire boxing match. This shot that knows how to pan around, it's perfectly staged, and even though that's not a crazy action sequence, it's still really badass because he knew how to stage that to the point where he could do it all in one shot.
Nice.
And so from just seeing that, knowing that one sequence made me go, this guy would probably be really good at doing action sequences.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it shows in the trailer. Like, it definitely shows in the trailer. That one shot that everyone's probably going to be flipping out about with the cars flipping over. Yeah, because Black Panther, I mean, I wonder if they're going to include all his powers. Because he's got so many powers, I can't even tell you, like, I'm sure if I try naming all of them, I would greatly fail. He has, like, ridiculous amount of powers. So I'm wondering if they're going to be able to include all of that, or will it be too much of an overload for this one movie?
Hey man, it would be cool if there's, like, every outing he's developing a little bit more.
If you like to show his powers, you gotta show a new power every 10 minutes of the film. Like, that's just how many powers he has. He has so many powers.
That middle montage where they show him, you know, demonstrate, learning how to harness all his powers.
Funny games montage.
It's gonna be like 40 minutes long.
And while it's a fun trailer, I heard this movie's gonna have more of the serious Marvel tone. Because, you know, Marvel's known for its humor, but I heard this one is gonna have much more of a serious tone. More along the lines of how a lot of Civil War was or Winter Soldier was, as opposed to, you know, like an Ant-Man or Doctor Strange kind of vibe. Because he's a pretty serious character. T'Challa's a rather serious human being.
Well, yeah, and I don't know what they're drawing from, but, you know, Africa is a place with a lot of difficult history, you know, and especially originating there, and just the notion that this is an advanced civilization that they want kept off the grid. You know, I imagine there has to be some pretty serious subtext at work, or subtext to draw from. I don't know how much they're going to take. It's always a hard line to skate. I know we see some of these and we're like, oh, it's way too serious. And we see some and we're like, it's just not serious enough, you know. I think a serious tone for something like this can work, especially when you look at that scene. Like, the scene between Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman is kind of indicative to me of something that I think helps those movies not feel quite so serious, is when characters at least crack smiles and laugh, and, like, people act like people despite how heavy the circumstances are. And that's, again, the thing with, like, Michael B. Jordan's character, Killmonger, that I would worry about, is like, I don't want you just to be stone-faced the whole time, because oftentimes that doesn't lead to a very interesting villain or something like that. You know, just because a serious tone is there doesn't mean that, you know, it's just devoid of all happiness, like some movies we've seen.
Like what?
Like, you know.
All right, guys. Well, yeah, that was one hell of a trailer. Glad I waited around all day for that one. Well, you can subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. Datch on Humphrey on Twitter and Instagram. Social media manager at Blumhouse.com. Check out our Patreon for exclusive perks and exclusive video content over there. You guys have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. Expect more uploads like movie news of the week and the Mummy movie review.